Welcome back to 360 Success Coach. I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Knight. Joined with me today, my co-host,
Amy Knight. I thought you were going to do your TV voice or your radio voice.
my lovely bride, Amy Knight. We're continuing our talks or our, I guess, what do we call these episodes on relationships, and kind of, I'm probably not going to do much editing. I just want people to hear us kind of how we do.
What'd you call it? Raw dogging?
That's a
Isn't
term.
that a dirty word?
No,
Are you sure?
I mean, it could be, but that's a term where people are like, one of the things to use it for is sitting on an airplane, not watching phone, not listening to music or anything, just sitting there the whole time.
Oh gosh, I couldn't do that.
No.
I've heard that now.
Yeah, that's a term for that. But anyway, today we're talking about weeds, not weeds in the relationship. Because no matter how strong a relationship is, weeds still grow. You were talking about one of the flower beds in the back by your little fountain thing, right?
That I hate weeds. I don't think I'll think about it when I get to heaven, but there are certain things in life that I'm like, what purpose do you serve? However, I'm pretty sure if I pulled them, my little sweet cardinal might put them in her
Just leave
nest.
them.
Nest.
We're in our bird watching era, so we're watching these cardinals in our backyard build a nest right now.
Maybe I'll send you the video and you can upload it for them to see it.
But so when it comes to relationship, though, what are some of the things that, are weeds?
So resentment, ego, unspoken frustration.
Which builds resentment. And sometimes we don't address those things because of ego. So they're kind of all tied together.
And if you think about, anybody and everybody who's listening has at least pulled one weed in their life. And there's so much satisfaction when you get the roots. But there are so many under there that still have not poked through the soil. So you feel like you spent all this time cleaning out the bed. You're like, yes. And you come back 2 days later and I feel like it's twice as much.
Sometimes, especially that nutgrass stuff we get, it's horrible.
Eat it.
We have a ton of acorns. We have a bunch of oak trees. And here's one of the things that after rain, and those things have sprouted up 2-3 inches or whatever, they are much easier to pull when they're small and they're fresh.
And after a rain.
Oh,
that's good.
Yeah. Then if you wait until the soil's dry or it's gotten too big and the root is too deep, you're going to end up breaking it off. It's just going to keep growing back and bigger and bigger and bigger.
There's an analogy.
There is. We have those everywhere. But anytime I see them, I start pulling them because, you'll pop out and the acorn will still be attached. Here's something I took a picture of the other day. I haven't shown you yet. But however much is above the ground, you have the same amount below the ground. And so whatever you see, you have to pull at least that much root out.
Like an iceberg.
Yeah. But the problem, the weeds in relationship, most people don't deal with them early. They overlook them and they think, that'll get better. Well, let me tell you, if you notice it and it's bothering you or you think it's a problem, if you ignore it and you avoid the conversation or you say, that's not a big deal.
It's going to go from a weed to a tree.
That's right. You say it's not a big deal until it becomes one because resentment builds quietly and it will become the elephant in the room.
That creates a divide.
Yes.
Not the space. That's different. Divide and space is different.
And then that resentment smudges the filter that you see your spouse through.
Very much so. And then you just start, again, building that wall that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And the weeds get so thick you can't see your way out of it. So then I think where we were talking in the last episode, had some friends where, they waited too long and the weeds became trees. And that takes a lot of money to take down trees. Or a big storm comes and that tree falls on your house. And so, conflict resolution, we teach it with our team at work. And then, we've learned also with us, walking around with a little tiny pebble in your shoe versus a big rock.
Yeah.
And you can't ignore it. You can't.
We did that with our team here. We had them put a rock in their shoe and walk around the block and come back.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And like, how many of you noticed the rock?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of you say it was worse after just walking a block or, a few hundred feet?
Yeah. But we often just think it's going to get better with time. And there are certain things that you can overlook. There are certain things that you can get past. But if it's something that's, you feel it in your gut or your heart, I can't let that go. That's when you have to make that conscious decision to say, we need to talk.
Well, and I think a lot of that stems from conflict avoidance. I mean, in society today, conflict resolution is not a skill. I mean, we have a lot of team members but people do not know how to resolve conflict healthily. They don't. And so they will avoid it and then it becomes big. And, and usually when it erupts, the thing it erupts over, the issue is not the issue. It was
Right.
something else that was building up. And then that one little thing was finally the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. But you become less patient, you become less open, less connected. And then
Cortisol level goes up, you
not
start gaining weight.
yeah, but not because of one big issue, but because many small unaddressed issues. And then you put your ego in there, and that makes it worse because
Mm,
ego says, I shouldn't have to bring this up. It also says, you should already know that this is a problem by the look on my face. But healthy relationships require communication, not mind reading. A
yeah.
few episodes ago, we talked about how you felt like when we first got married, I should have just known. Well, perhaps we would tell them the way your mom behaved when your dad would be at home sitting on the couch.
Doing what I just said I did.
Yeah.
Pounding
Stomping
something,
around the house, huffing and puffing, slamming
opening
cabinets.
cabinets.
Why doesn't he know I'm putting up all these dishes or all these clothes or whatever? But healthy relationships require communication, not mind reading. So what do?
Okay.
You create a rhythm of clearing.
Mm,
In our accounting system, we have a clearing account. If something doesn't balance out or we need to make an adjustment, and for every action, there has to be another action to offset it in accounting. It's called dual entry accounting. And so we have a clearing account. If we don't know like where to categorize something, but we need it adjusted in the books, it goes to clearing. And so I'll talk to the accountant and go, hey, what should we do with this? Otherwise, it's just going to sit in the clearing account because I had to make the ledger right.
mm.
And in our relationships, we have to keep the ledger right. And so you have to have a clearing account. And sometimes you just put that away and you're like, we're going to cover that with grace. We're going to cover it with mercy because I don't know, but we just got to get that off our ledger. And does that make sense at all? Yeah. Just got to let it
Yes.
go.
Sometimes you don't it's not that it's the timing like we talked about earlier.
Right.
So we're gonna put it over there. It still is very hurtful or bothersome, but the timing and the emotional or the ego right now is not a good time to bring that the rock.
Right. So just a weekly check in where both can speak honestly and no attacking, nothing you have to defend, just honesty and resolution.
But I think a lot of people, and I don't know if it's again because they don't have all these other foundations, they want to fight it out. Like we're gonna get to the bottom of this right now. It may not be the right time. If
Right.
your emotions are high, or like you said, your ego, um, it will not get resolved in that kind of environment. It'll actually, like you said, it's like throwing gas on a fire. It's just going to make it worse. And then that's when all the you always
Yeah, all the
comes in.
emotions and
Yeah, it just
um,
nothing.
Dr. Phil always said you can't fix what you won't acknowledge.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
um, and then what you won't address in your relationship, you allow to grow.
Hmm.
And so if it's a negative issue, I mean, if it's a good thing, you want it to grow. But if it's a negative thing and you don't address it, you're just allowing it to grow and get bigger. And this is going to be hard to root out. We talked about the weeds earlier, the little oak tree saplings. Once they start get a certain height, you have to dig them up. You can't pull them.
You
It takes a lot more work.
got to get a shovel. You
Yeah.
can't just pull it with your hands.
But in the marriage relationship, what grows unchecked eventually will take over. If it's good stuff, that's great. If it's weeds and bad stuff, it's bad. And so you have to pull the weeds early and you have to protect this garden that is our marriage relationship.
That's good.
Well, thank you.
Protect the garden.
Defend the garden. That's all we've got for today. We will talk to you next time. And we're going to get back into this and talk about the climate that good gardens or environments for your relationship and creating some good kind of external peer pressure. If you've enjoyed this last few series, please share our show and go and subscribe wherever you consume content on Spotify or Apple. And we appreciate you tuning in.